thing you've been putting off? Maybe you say, someday I'll do that, or when I have more time. Whether the item is a big bucket list item or something smaller like going on a hike, now is the time to start your Say Yes list. And we have the perfect process to help you turn these items into reality. Join thousands of others with our free Say Yes list template at thesayesexperience.com/list. It'll help you stop living in that someday and start making those list items come true today. So download it now at thesayesexperience.com/list. Welcome to the Say Yes Experience podcast, where we inspire you to get out of your comfort zone and into possibilities. Our mission at the Say Yes Experience is to empower 10 million people to say yes. If you're new here, welcome. We're thrilled you're here. I'm Jessica Rector. I co-founded the Say Yes Experience with my then 9-year-old son Blaze, based off his idea to let's just say yes to things. I'm one of the top experts on burnout, and companies and conferences hire me to present on mental health, wellness, and burnout prevention. As a #1 best-selling author of 11 books, keynote speaker, and a burnout specialist, I've seen so much with our clients. The Say Yes Experience was started to help you really start living, to do the things that light you up, have more fun, and turn your dreams, or what we call Say Yes list items, into reality. So thank you for investing in yourself and being here. Now let's make it happen. Are you stressed, overwhelmed, or burned out? Maybe you just need a break, a long break, to discover, uncover, or explore. Time to think or figure things out. Katrina McGhee helps people just like you take sabbaticals, leading to more fulfilling and satisfying lives. She's the author of the upcoming book, Taking a Career Break for Dummies, and has been featured in Forbes, Smarter Travel, Thrive Global, and Yahoo. She'll share with you how long the break can be, how to have more money for it, and what your career might look like when you return. If you've ever thought about taking a break, this is the episode for you. Please help me welcome my guest today, Katrina McGhee. Welcome to the show, Katrina. We are so excited you are here.
I'm so excited to be here, Jessica.
Yeah. Hey, so we're going to talk about something that I love, a concept that's kind of new out there in the world, or maybe it's been around for a little while, but it's really getting to the forefront of it. And you are pioneering that, helping people do it a lot more because it's so needed in today's world. And we're talking today all about sabbaticals. So tell us how the idea got started for yourself and how you help people do that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Such a great adventure I've been on. My story starts reading a book, actually. It was back in the middle of business school. I was between my first and second year, and I got my hands on Elizabeth Gilbert's Eat, Pray, Love, which sounds very cliche. I fully admit that. But the truth is, reading that book set off this like gong style bell inside of me of resonance, where it was like, I want to travel the world too. And it broke my brain to think that an adult that had a respectable job and was well into adulthood could quit their job just to travel around the world for a year. I wanted that life. I didn't get to study abroad, when I was in college, and I felt like I'd missed out on so much, but I just assumed the best was behind me in regards to that. And the most I could hope for was like a really great vacation, on my job, or maybe someday when I retired at like 65 or 67 or 70, that I would get to go travel like that. So that was like the moment the seed was planted, but it was so crazy and so out there and so scary to imagine. This was like 2009, I just buried it deep inside. And I was like, I'm in the middle of business school. I can't drop out. That would be insane. And so I just put it away, and I thought I would bury it forever, go get my MBA and start my new life, which is what I did. However, that seed had been growing all along, germinating, if you will, all along.
Yes.
And I felt this very sort of strong sense of resistance in my first corporate job post MBA. So I switched careers from being an actuary to being a market researcher. And I had a great job with a great well-known company, but I still couldn't find myself excited about the work. And I couldn't quite feel at home in myself or in, in that business, in that corporate world. So I hired a life coach. And the moment that idea came back, and I truly had forgotten about it, was 6 months into coaching with her. I was sitting on the couch, and you talk about having a say yes moment.
Yeah.
She was saying something very unrelated. And I had this voice inside of me that said, you don't want another job. You just want to take a break. You want to travel the world. And I was like, what? And it was like this moment of like, I can't even believe the words that I'm hearing right now. But it was the adventure began when I finally said yes to that idea. And at that point in time, I was like, I can't deny this. I'm not happy. I feel stuck. I have no idea what I'm doing with my life. I just know whatever I'm doing now is not working. So like, I'm going to honor this voice. I had $1,500 in my bank account. I had, 50 something $1,000 worth of debt from my business school loans. I had no reason to think that I could make it happen, but I chose to say yes. And then to take the steps to create a plan. I went on to save over 18 months. I saved $40,000. I quit my job. I traveled around the world for 20 months. And when I came back, I landed 5 job offers in 5 weeks after a 20-month break. And that was the moment that the idea, I can help other people do this. Taking a break is not the end of your life. It can be the beginning of a better life. And that was like, wow. And so I put that away for a couple of years while I paid off my debt and got certified as a life coach to then come back and help other people do the same thing.
Okay, Katrina, it's so fascinating because if we think of especially Americans, right? They're like, I get 2 weeks vacation a year. What is she talking about? Going and traveling and being on a sabbatical. So I love that you say the idea popped in your head. You kind of put it away, but you also got strategic with it, meaning you had $1,500 in your bank account and you weren't like, okay, I'm quitting and I'm going to take a sabbatical. I have no idea what I'm doing, but you got intentional, which I love, like intentional and strategic, knowing this is what you want to do. I'm going to be intentional. I'm going to be strategic. And you were able to save $40,000. So I know people are going to be thinking, how was she able to do that? Was she making like 200,000 a year in order to do that? How are you able to do that? What strategies did you put in place to say, I'm going to save money? And did you have a specific amount in mind? Or you just said, I'm going to do it for 18 months, whatever I can get done, that's it. And it amounted to 40,000.
Yeah, such a great question. There were 4 really simple steps. They're not sexy, but they were very straightforward. And I will tell you exactly what they were. But to answer your last question first, I planned out a rough idea of how I wanted to spend. At that time, I thought it would be 1 year that I would be traveling. So I was like, how would I want to spend this year? And I tried to estimate in a spreadsheet because I was a math nerd. I tried to estimate what I thought that would cost. And I came up with $38,000, including some buffer in case something happened. I also owned a townhouse in Atlanta that I had been renting out for almost 10 years at that point. And it was underwater because of the housing crisis that had happened. And so I was taking a loss on it every month. So I needed to think about, if the HVAC breaks, I have to have access to money to pay for that. I still had my student loan debt. I put it into forbearance and deferment so that I could stop, making payments while I wasn't working. So I had to think about, the financial context of my situation, but I did have a target in mind, which kept me motivated. So that's one piece of advice is know your number, because I need to save a lot of money is not motivating when you feel far away from your goal. And when you're trying to make trade-offs, right? I could go on this vacation that's $400 and feel so good right now, or I could put that $400 towards my goal. If your goal is just a lot of money, it's like, well, that's not really going to hurt my goal. But if your goal is $38,000, and 63 cents or something, you're like, I know exactly where that $400 will go. So
yes.
Yeah. So here are the 4 steps. Really simply put, I started tracking everything I spent without judgment for 2 months. I learned what my habits really were, not what I thought they were. And I saw so many places where I could make improvements and realign my spending to, match my values instead of just doing it very unconsciously. The second
And
thing
to that point, Katrina, I think a lot of people don't realize where their money goes until they actually track it. So I love how you said where it actually goes, not where I think it goes, because we think we know where it goes. Typically, it's not going to those places. We're spending a lot more eating out or on clothes, or, hey, I got to go grocery shopping, and I'm just going to buy these few extra things. And then before we know it, we're like, I spent how much
Jessica, $750 at Whole Foods. What? That blew my mind. I'm one person and I was spending over $700. Thank you. I know. And I was like, I had no idea this was happening.
It's so funny that you say that, Katrina, because I literally just looked at my credit card bill yesterday and added up how much I spent at the grocery store the previous month. And I was like, $100 at the grocery store. There's only two of us. What am I buying at the grocery store? So mine was almost half of yours, and there's double the amount of people. And I was like, what?
Yes.
The same thing. I thought, gosh, I thought it was like 200. Like if I had to guess, it was like 200, maybe 250, 400, never would have guessed. Okay, so know where your money is going and really not just guess where it's going, but track it and know where it's going. Okay, great. What else? What else?
Yeah. And then once you track it, once you understand what's happening, set a new target, right? So realign it. So I did set a budget, but the budget wasn't this restrictive. I'm going to try to spend 2 cents on every category of spending. It was more like, I have this much money and I have these needs. So let me redirect my money in a way where I'm really feeling good about how I'm spending it. It's aligned and conscious. So it's like setting a sort of an aspirational target of what I wanted to be spending is how I viewed my budget. That was really key. And so we talk about that $750. I had no idea, similar to you, I had no idea that was how much I was spending. But then I got to be curious. What's happening? I'm impulse shopping. Whole Foods was my happy place. And it felt very permissive because it wasn't like going to Nordstrom's and buying like a new pair of shoes, which I had also done that a time or two. But, it feels, it's just like a $15 box of cookies. But it's like, it's a $15 box of cookies, Katrina. And so it was shopping with more intention, shopping with a grocery list, or consciously choosing things that were on sale. And just those simple actions. In 1 month, I went from $750 down to $350, which felt a lot better, right? So it was, so it was like creating a realistic _ a realistic budget, right? That is like doable, sustainable. The third step, I have this thing I call the exploration fund, but essentially it was a line item in my budget that I had to spend money on every month. I put $200 into it. And the goal was have a sense of adventure, have a sense of exploration so that instead of feeling deprived by my reduced spending, I was putting my attention and my focus on living a very fulfilling life while saving money and making better choices. So I did all kinds of things with that money. One time I used 2 months worth and I bought a blender. I bought a Vitamix because I was way into healthy eating. And I was like, I want to make smoothies and salad dressings and do all this fun stuff. And so I took online classes and I learned how to make all this stuff. And I just really leaned into the exploration of it. And so that having a place for fun or for you and for growth is really important. And the last
I think that's so important. That, Katrina, I think that's really genius because I think if you are looking at a financial goal, often you go and deprive yourself of things that you need. And then you kind of have this resistance towards that goal. Yes, I know it's going to feel good in the end, but I really need something now. And we all just as humans have that impulse, right? That we want that here and the now, but also with so much going on in the world and overwhelm and stress and burnout, I'm a big proponent that we've got to be intentional with giving back to ourselves and doing something that lights us up. But I love the title that you give it, like exploration fund. Oftentimes I know I can get so focused on work and what does someone to do that I forget. And my friend even reminds me, Jessica, but what are you doing for yourself this month? And I teach other people to do that. Sometimes the people who teach it forget about, need themselves with it. So I love that. And an exploration fund, line item in the budget. Love it.
Yeah. That's thanks for calling me out, Jessica, because you are right. It was not like a simple, I just did it because I was so wise. It was because there was a day, like a few months into this whole project, where I was crying on the floor of my kitchen, feeling really angry and resentful. It's like, I can't leave my house. I'm a prisoner. If I go get ice cream, that's $5. If I get in the car and drive somewhere, that's like $6 in gas. And it was like everything it all had money attached, like dollar signs. And it felt like I can't exist in this world without spending money. And I just felt like a prisoner. And so it was in that space where I was like, how can I shift this? How can I give myself permission to live and feel good about that so that I can stick to this goal. Cause I mean, it felt impossible at that time. I mean, it was really, really hardcore. Right. So it was born out of exactly, that, like just really having that rock bottom moment and then creating an intentional way to like connect to fun and joy and adventure, which was important to me.
That's so powerful that you share that, because in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, like she set this budget and she just, went and looked and said, okay, I got to cut back on. No, it's easy, it's simple. Like, here you go. So it's nice to know, like, you set those big goals and you achieve them, but those challenges come up, and those rock bottom places where you're on the floor saying, and it also just brings some authenticity and humanness to it, to say, hey, I did it. And here are the challenges that came up. So we also have to give ourselves permission to feel those challenges and then make tweaks and adjustments along the way. Okay, 100%. So that was 3, right? So what was 4?
So 4 is save your lump sums. This is something I see some people struggle with, but when you're working really hard and you're saving money and you're feeling so proud, when you get a lump sum, whether it's a tax refund, a bonus at work, an unexpected, one of mine was like an unexpected refund on my escrow account. People want to spend it. They want to be like, oh, good, I get a treat. Like, this is so great. I've been working so hard and now the universe is giving me a treat. But I encourage you to actually, if you want to take 100 of that, you can, but like put the rest away. And I always put it away towards my goal. And instead I viewed it as, look at the universe supporting me, trying to reach my goal faster. And so of that 40K, about 20,000 of it was lump sums, bonuses, tax refunds, escrow, just over birthday presents, right? Just over time, only like putting it into the fund and not spending it, it added up and it saved me like a year's worth of time working in my corporate job. And by the way, to answer the other question, I was making about 95 at the time.
Do you want to start saying yes, but you just don't know where to start? And oftentimes when we don't know where to start, we just don't start. So we created an ebook just for you. We put together 101 ways to say yes. In this ebook, ideas big and small, things that only take a small amount of time, like 1 to 2 minutes. Whether you're saying yes to yourself, in your family, relationships, or pushing yourself lovingly outside of your comfort zone with adventures, it's all made to really help you become more of your rock star self. So you can get this ebook at thesayyesexperience.com/book, BOOK. So if you want to start saying yes, or maybe you need some ideas on how to say yes because you get so caught up in being busy and doing tasks and projects or doing laundry and cooking that the time flies by and you want to spend time with your family, but you just don't know how to say yes. Those ideas just don't come to you. We put it together to make it super, super easy for you. So go to thesayyesexperience.com/book to get your copy today and start saying yes now. Are you feeling overwhelmed, stressed, or burned out? We get it. You're not alone. In fact, according to our research, 79% of the workforce is in burnout and almost half are in extreme burnout. In fact, it's the number one reason why people are leaving organizations. They're burned out. They're looking for something more. They're looking for something better. But it doesn't have to be that way. We have your solution. It's called Blaze Your Brain to Extinguish Burnout. 52 keys to prevent, breakthrough, and eliminate burnout. You can find your copy at jessicarector.com/store. Now, this is a great tool that you can use with yourself, with your colleagues, within your organization. Everyone can get one, and you can go through one a week with them. And at the end, you can say, what was something that worked this week? What was a success you had? So you can champion and encourage each other. You can also ask what were the challenges and issues that came up, so you can mastermind and brainstorm around those to keep those from coming up in the future. So make sure you get your copy at jessicarector.com/store. All books are autographed with a personal message just for you. Oh my gosh. So I love that, like big lump sums. And I know so many people are like, what's my sadness? big thing. Oh, can we go get? This is amazing. So what did you find was the hardest part of that 18 months of saving that money? What was the biggest challenge that
Yeah.
came up for you?
Yeah. So when you start, you're excited. You're like, I've got a plan. This is going to be fantastic. I'm going to crush it.
Oh,
And then life will just come in and be like, bam, and like smack you in the face and be like, how bad do you want it? And I totally had that moment. Like I told you before, I had a townhouse. I was renting it out. Everything was fine. And then like 2 months into this beautiful new savings, frontier that I'm venturing on, my tenant gave me notice. She moved out, and it took me almost 8 weeks to find a new tenant. So for 8 weeks, I was paying to fix it up, to paint it, to clean it. And I was losing money on my mortgage and my HOA. Like, we're talking thousands of dollars every month. So now here I am in this beautiful, bright, shiny mindset. Like, I'm going to save money. I'm going to quit my job and take a break. Life is so good. And then I'm like, I'm bleeding money. I'm literally hemorrhaging money. I was like, I can't take a break. I'm going to have to get another job. And it was really, really hard. And that was like the moment where I really wanted to give up and be like, F it. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how hard I try. The world is against me. It doesn't want this for me. And it was by my determination, my connection to the why of why I wanted to take this break, that I just kept going. And in hindsight, once I got through that, I could see I was in a much, much better place financially,
mm,
because had this happened before I had started saving money and before I had had all this
yeah.
awareness about how, I would have been even thousands more in the hole, right? I was prepared to like accept and navigate this challenge because of the work I had done a few months before. And then after that, it just got better and better. And so I started saving, like 400 a month, and then it was 5, 6, 7, and then I was up to like $1,100 a month. But it took over time, like changing my habits. I got a
Mhm.
roommate at one point, and decided to like push through the last like, I don't know, 10 months and save as fast as I could. So I started making different decisions, but it all was up from that point.
Wow. And, again, there's challenges come up, but it's how you tweak and adjust and also look at it from maybe a different point of view. Because had that happened at the beginning, you also wouldn't have had the money that you had already saved. Not that you wanted to dip into that, but you had money if you needed it to dip into. So as you went on, you had the money, everything's great. So as you went on this sabbatical, how did you really start to plan it? And when you first even had the idea, like, I want some time away, like you said you had this idea and then you kind of pushed it away. Were you initially thinking, I'm going to go for a year? Or were you like, oh, just give me a couple weeks or a couple months? And then it kind of developed into a year? Because I just know people are like, I can't even wrap my brain around what a year of not working looks like. Like, it's so hard of a leap to go from, I get 2 weeks vacation for the whole year to, what? I take a whole year. Like, that just seems like a dream, like so far from reality. So how did that start off? Did you have a specific length of time in mind initially? And if it was only 2 weeks a month, how did you go all the way to a year?
Yeah. So actually, I did create a year in my mind, because when I mapped out what would I like to do with this time, how would I like to spend it? When I'm coaching my clients, I refer to it as the purpose and the themes. So I have them create 4 themes for their break. I think about, what were my themes, what is my purpose, and how long is it going to take me to fulfill that? Now, my break actually lasted 20 months because I had become so good at saving money and spending money that I was like, at 1 year, I was like, I still got tens of thousands of dollars in the bank. I think I'm good. And so I just kept going until I spent it all. But, I've polled my clients. So I've helped over 60 people actually already take breaks. So they're either on them now or they've been through them. And then I've got a bunch more that are ready to go. But in the poll, a third of them actually had breaks last longer than they expected. So it's not uncommon for you to think, I'm going to do 5 months or 3 months or 6 months, and then to get into it, get comfortable with it, understand maybe your finances change and you realize you can live with less when you have all this freedom and you have this
Mhm.
space to pursue other interests or to just restore. And so people go
Yeah.
on to like create more space. But, I have clients that take anywhere from 3 months to 2 years off, and any part is okay. Something is better than nothing. I would say the
Mhm.
average is between 6 and 12 months, with 12 months being the true sort of median amount of time. But I started off with a vision of 12 months because of all the things I wanted to do. And then it became 20 later on.
So what is it that you encourage your clients to do on this sabbatical? Do they have a specific agenda, a certain purpose that they're setting out? When people are thinking of sabbatical, I think most of the time they might be thinking of, I just want to get away from stuff, and not necessarily what am I going to?
Absolutely. You're absolutely correct. And so that is exactly why I ask them, like I have 5 prompts I will ask them that help me get information and language from them to understand, why are you taking this break, which is the purpose. If you're taking this break, it's a big leap. You're going to have to save for it. You're going to have to invest in yourself, invest time and energy and money. And so you need to really understand why it's worth it, why you're doing it, and what success means to you, because your version of a break will look different than anyone else's. And if you don't know what success is, you're not thoughtfully designing it to achieve the goal. You're just winging it. And so you can end up having a great experience, but finishing your break feeling really drained or not having any more inkling on what you want to do with your next iteration of your career, like whatever it is you're searching for, you might miss it if you're not thoughtful in the planning up front. So in those questions, they'll create a purpose statement, and then we'll do 4 themes. And themes, I try to keep 1 to 2 words. So oftentimes I'll see there's a theme around rest. So it might be recovery, recharge, reinvigorate, rest, recover, heal. There's usually one around learning. So sometimes it's adventure. It might be learning. There's usually one around connection or reconnection. And then a lot of my clients want to use this break as a catalyst for personal growth. So that 4th theme will usually be something like lifestyle 4.0 or my next chapter or a new career. And so it's kind of like creating this experience where it's on a new frontier once they emerge from the break, so that their life looks very different than the one that they left to come onto the break.
Right. And that's the last thing we want, is them to come onto the break, go back, and everything looks the exact same. Right.
Yeah.
So have you found that when they're thinking about sabbaticals, or just people in general, whether it's your clients or people in general thinking about sabbaticals, are they concerned or worried what it's going to look like, their career is going to look like when they get back? Are they still going to have that job? Do they have to look for another job? Because looking for another job can be a stressor, right? So what happens to their careers and their jobs once they come back from the sabbatical?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Huge fear. One of the top 3 fears. What's going to happen? Is anyone going to want me? Am I going to find a job? Am I going to run out of money and be homeless because no one will hire me? Absolutely. Absolutely. Will I be rusty? What actually happens is, because they do the work. So I actually worked with a client just today, and he did not hire me on his break, but he found me at the end of his break. So now he's considering reentry. So we retroactively did the purpose and themes activity, and it was very eye-opening for him to understand the picture of his break and to solidify in his own mind what the benefits were. So the idea is, when you realize you're going to return from this break having been more energized, feeling more connected, feeling more clear, feeling inspired, and filling your own cup and feeling fulfilled, that version of you has all the same experience, all the same education, the entirely same network, right? So you're coming back as a better version of yourself that's more excited than the other person that's still running on a hamster wheel and is really exhausted. You're like refreshed. You're like, yeah, I was on the wheel, I got off, and now I'm refreshed. Like, put me back on. And so it's so much easier to find a job from that space of being excited about life, being re-engaged, truly being excited about getting back to work and contributing and feeling stimulated and in partnership or in team again. And, again, polling my clients, all of my clients that have gone back to a corporate life, which some go on to entrepreneurship or other versions of that, but the ones that have gone back to corporate 2 months or less, everybody has found a job within 2 months.
Wow. Now, do most of them go back to their previous job? I just, whenever I'm thinking of companies, I can just picture them saying, you want to take a sabbatical for how long? And then you want us to hold your job for you when you get back? Are companies on board with this? Or are they like, if you leave and you go on this sabbatical, can't promise you or guarantee the job's going to be here when you get back?
Yeah, that's such a great question. The minority of my clients are sabbatical clients where they've agreed and contracted with their company to go. Those are shorter. Those are usually 3, maximum 6 months. Oftentimes it's more around the 3 or 4 months that you would see. But what is fascinating is that The people that come to me are a biased set, right? Because they're putting thought and intention into this break. They're being very thoughtful about their finances, about their career, about
Yes.
themselves. And so I know by default, they are doing an amazing job at work because they're being thoughtful and intentional and they care a lot. And so I know that they're the high achievers that no one wants to lose. And the most interesting thing to see in the preparation process is when it's time for them to give their notice, without fail, they will get offered things like part-time jobs. They'll get offered remote work where it was not possible nor granted to anyone
Mm.
else in the past. They will sometimes be offered. Two of my clients were a couple and they worked at the same company. And when they told their company, we're going to quit our jobs and go live in Spain for 6 months to study the language and travel around Europe, the company was like, we do this thing called leave of absence. If you come back within 6 months, you can keep your job. It might be a different role, but like you can come back. And they were like, okay. And so that's what happened, right? So I have seen it happen where, if you are performing and you're just feeling burned out or just
Mhm.
desiring this change, this reinvigoration and this time to like nurture other parts of your life besides work, companies don't want to lose you. And so they are usually willing to work with you. Now, the majority of my clients are vision is held, a break is what they want, and they take the break. But I have seen, sabbaticals be offered, leave of absences, unpaid be offered, and, part-time opportunities, remote work opportunities. So,
Yeah.
lots of things become fair game once you, put that out there in the universe.
And it's so fascinating, Katrina, because I can just picture people saying, "Hey," to a company, I need a break. Like I want to go on this." And companies need to get on board with the idea because people are stressed, they're maxed out, burned out, stressed out, and it costs them so much more in the time and the energy and just bottom line of trying to find someone to replace that person and get them up to where that person was beforehand. So if companies get on board with this, it's actually going to save the company money and a lot of loyalty will be had from the people who are going to come back, right? Because they're going to say, oh my gosh, like this company was on board with this idea for me leaving for a sabbatical. They held my job, or I was able to get another job. So I'm going to stay at this organization because I know this organization cares about me as a whole person and not just the work I do or what I can do as an employee, that they see themselves as valued and that their employer and organization values them as a person.
Okay, anybody that wants to pitch a sabbatical to their company, just go back and listen to what Jessica said and take notes. Jessica, you said it. Like, absolutely. It's about loyalty. It's about well-being. It's about pulling out the best of your people when they're not burned out. It's about like giving them space. And also, it's about delegation. The company oftentimes find themselves in a better position because they've been able to rethink that role. So often, we're just running and putting out fires. We don't have time to take a step back and think strategically. But when you're leaving, they're thinking, what are all the things you do here that are superfluous or not necessary or that could be done more efficiently? And so one of my clients that did take a sabbatical, she was out for 4 months. They were able to delegate. And when she returned to her job, she got to do a lot more of the things that lit her up because they had found a way,
Yes.
with her absence to do a lot of the stuff that was more menial or more administrative or just wasn't really serving a higher purpose. And it also
Mhm.
gave the people underneath of her a chance to step up and to create more upward mobility for them and to really just learn new skills in the process. So it was growth for everyone.
I love that. So, Katrina, what is the one strategy or tool that you want to give people if they're not thinking of a sabbatical and they need to start thinking of a sabbatical, or maybe they're thinking of a sabbatical but they just don't know where to start?
Yeah. If you are not thinking of one, but kind of feeling weirdly curious after listening to this podcast and you're like, I don't know about her, but maybe, ask yourself, what would I do with time off? And you could even start
Mm,
with like a month, but just think about what would I do with that time? Because so often our brain doesn't even let us consider that. But when we
exactly.
actually put time and energy into thinking about that, we could come up with a very long list. And then
Mm.
imagine, what if I never had the time to do those things? How would that feel? Right?
Ooh. Hmm.
That's a great
Oh,
place
that's
to start.
powerful.
And
Yeah.
if you want to take a break, but it feels wildly impossible, I would say one of the places you could start is by figuring out what that number would even be. That was really powerful for me to understand if I did take a break the way I wanted to, which was 1 year with international travel, what would that actually cost? I had no idea. When I ran my calculations, I came up with $38K, including a buffer for my townhouse and a buffer for emergencies. And when I've looked at my clients and, had them do sort of an average calculation, what I'm finding is it's around US dollars, around $3,600 a month on average, but there's a million ways to take a break. Some people have a partner that covers cost. Some people don't. Some people are able to move in with family or friends for part of their break. Some people don't. Some people move to countries where it's really affordable. Some people don't, right? So it's just understanding like, what is my version of a really cool break look like, and how much would it actually cost if I wanted to do it?
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing all those insights and tips, Katrina. Oh, I love it. So if you have not been thinking about taking a sabbatical and maybe you're feeling a little stressed or overwhelmed or just curious on what the possibility of a sabbatical could look like for you, we're going to have all of Katrina's information and contact in the show notes. So make sure that you reach out to her and you can find out more about what it could look like in your life. And then if you are thinking about a sabbatical, you definitely want to reach out to Katrina. But also, I love her ideas around what are you doing on this sabbatical? What's really your purpose? It's not just to sit around and relax on the couch for 6 months. Like, really, how can you really re-energize and revigorate yourself so you come back feeling recharged, focused, and energized and ready to take on the world? So we'll see you on the next one. Have an awesome day. Bye-bye. Are you ready to move to your next level of rockstar greatness? CFO, Chief Fun Officer, #1 best-selling author, and keynote speaker Blaze Rector is ready to help you do that. At just 10 years old, he's already written 2 #1 best-selling books. Through the power of storytelling, he uses lessons learned and shares strategies, tips, tactics, and tools to inspire, empower, and motivate you to live a more amazing life. So if you're ready to do that in your own life, grab a copy of his #1 best-selling books at jessicarector.com/store. And when you order your copies, he will personally autograph them and write you a message on those books before shipping them out to you to really inspire and empower you in your life. These books are great for adults and kids alike. So if you're ready to move to your next level of rockstar greatness, make sure you grab your copy at jessicarector.com/store. Enjoy those amazing, empowering, transformational books. Did you know that the 2 biggest issues impacting the workforce are mental health and burnout? Well, we have your solution. The more that you feel burned out, the more it impacts your mental health. The more your mental health is impacted, the more it leads to burnout. So it's a vicious cycle that goes around and around, but it doesn't have to be that way. You can help them both if you're intentional and strategic with it. We have lots of resources for you at jessicarector.com/store. One that I want to highlight that really enhances your mental health is Tame Your Brain Game, 52 tips to turn negative thoughts into positive action. Now, research shows that 80% of your thoughts are negative. No matter how positive you feel, it's the pattern and the habit that you've developed over the course of years, over the course of decades. And that can often impact your life, how you show up, how you lead, how you communicate, how you engage, whether at work or at home. And then it also impacts a work environment. All you need is one NN or TT, negative Nancy or toxic Tim, to really impact that work environment. So if you are ready to enhance your mental health, get your copy of Tame Your Brain Game, 52 tips to turn negative thoughts into positive action today at jessicarector.com/store. All books are autographed with a personal message just for you. Thank you so much for being here. Check us out at thesayyesexperience.com. Our mission at the Say Yes Experience is to empower 10 million people to say yes. With your help in sharing our podcast, we can do that. Follow us on all social media at the Say Yes Experience and join our free community at facebook.com/groups/the Say Yes Experience. Thank you again to our guest. You can find all the contact information for our guest in the show notes. Thank you to our CFO, Chief Fun Officer, Blaze Rector, our business advisor, Lisa Bahurick, and to our team at Jessica Rector Enterprises. We look forward to connecting with you on the next episode. Have an amazing day and keep being a rock star.